Lesson 6 is all about decimals. We want to read, write, add, and subtract and round decimals in this lesson. Now our first problem is to read the number, then write it with words. And if we look at this number, we've got 4,165, and it looks like 0.0162. That's a common way that we say this number. We'll say that in class sometimes, but we want to know the technical way to say it. We want to know the place values that we have in our decimals. Of course, we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and 10,000ths. So this number would be 4,165 and 162 10,000ths. Let's review that for a moment by looking at a place value chart. Now you can see this place value chart has our decimal point in the middle. It's got the ones, tens, hundreds, and so ons to the left of our number. And then it's got tenths, hundredths, thousands, 10,000ths, 100,000ths, and millions to the right side of our decimal point. Notice everything in blue to the right of our decimal point ends in THS, so tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and so on. Make sure you pronounce that very clearly when you say these out loud. So looking back at that first problem, we're going to read the number, then write it with words. One strategy we have is going to be to take our number, 4,165, and whenever we see a decimal point, we say the word and, 0, 1, 6, 2. And when we line it up over this place value chart, we can easily see what the last value we have for our decimal will be, 10,000ths, so we can say the number properly. Remember, for a decimal number, we're going to say it like 162, but we're going to say 162 10,000ths on the end. So this number would be 4,165 and, because whenever we see a decimal point, we have to say and, because we're adding on to that number, 162 10,000ths. And we'd be all done with this question. Alright, let's use digits and a decimal point to write each number. The first one that we have is 15 and 31 hundredths. So 15 and 31 hundredths. So we've got to have a 31 ending up in the hundredths. So 31 and it ends up in the hundredths. So that would be our answer, 15.31. Now problem B says 203 and 25 thousandths. Let's go ahead and erase problem A. We can work on problem B now. 203, so 203 and 25 thousandths. So 25, that's a 2-5. It's got to end up in the thousands. So 25 thousandths. We've got to fill in our tenths value with a 0, so we have our answer for question B. 203 and 25 thousandths. We can use this place value chart to help us solve any decimal problem like this. Alright, let's go ahead and simplify. We know when we add decimals, we've got to line them up vertically. 6.231 or 6 and 231 thousandths plus 0.04 or 4 hundredths. We've got to make sure that decimal point stays exactly lined up, and it's going to stay exactly lined up in our answer. We're going to add a placeholder 0 on here because we know it's going to be 1 plus 0, that's 1. 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 plus 0 is 2. And then we have 6 plus 0 is 6. So we have an answer of 6 and 271 thousandths, or 6.271. Let's look at our next problem. Our next problem is to round 212.0165725 to the nearest 10,000th. Let's use this place value chart to write this number out. So we've got 212 and we've got a 0, 165, 725, 725. That falls outside of our place value chart, but this must be the 10 millionths place. I'm going to put 10M for an abbreviation. Now we have to round it to the nearest 10,000th. If we want to round it to the nearest 10,000th, we're going to look at the 10,000ths place, that's a 5. Then we're going to look at the value after it, and we're going to see if that value after it is 5 or greater. It is. It's a 7. So this number, this 5, has to round up because it means it's closer to 212.0166 than it is to 212.0165. So we've got our final answer. Using this place value chart can be very helpful when we solve a problem like this. Let's look at our next one. We've got 4,057.2138362, and we've got to round to 2 decimal places. So if we're going to round to 2 decimal places, that means we want to look at the second decimal place, the hundredths. Then we're going to take the number after it, the 3, and we can see that that number is less than 5, so it's going to be 4,057.21. Since this number is less than 5, this number stays the same. It's closer to 4,057 and 21 hundredths than it is to 4,057 and 22 hundredths. That's why we'll round just like this. We're going to practice this more with our lesson practice on page 26 during our next class. Make sure you've got your notes completed, and I'll see you soon.